Yora, or should I say Salamat Datang, or in Filipino and Tagalog we say Salamat, Namaste, Kamusta, Shishir, and Kamsahamnida. Okay, anyway, so it's Marcus here, Managing Director of the firm, Bradley, Director of the firm who runs a large and one of New Zealand's best immigration teams. Today we're having a little bit of a discussion about geopolitical matters and primarily focusing on business migration for those interested in coming to live in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So, Brad, let's go.
Right, so I guess first point on topic is the recent TV show host, Jon Stewart, said that, can America buy property in New Zealand?
Oh, he said find me a good real estate in New Zealand.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and what's the background of that?
Well, I think it's because the debate between Biden and okay, yes, yes, it looks like he was saying with Trump.
Yeah, so that's the future leader of the free world, Donald J. Trump, and Mr. Biden now resigning, and for those wanting to leave the USA and come and live in New Zealand, perhaps time to make a call. Now, can an American buy a residential property here?
Oh, the answer is no. So basically, the Overseas Investment Office manages or controls who can buy land in New Zealand, and residential property is considered sensitive land. And so, unless you are a New Zealand citizen, you're exempt for requiring to get consent from the Overseas Investment Office. Otherwise, you'll need to get consent. So there's a couple of ways to get consent. If you're a New Zealand resident and you intend to be domiciled in New Zealand, then they'll allow you to buy residential property. Or if you stay the 183 days in the last 12 months, then you don't need consent. And you're also a New Zealand resident, then you don't need consent from the OIO. That's long story short, that's the main gist of the situation. So yes, you can call the real estate agent. I think your sale and purchase agreement will detail a condition that says subject to OIO.
Yeah, and if you notice criminal activity, you could go to jail for 7 years. But I think it needs a bit of context too, because for over 100 years, over a century, New Zealand allowed foreigners and everybody to buy residential property here. It got a bit sensitive when some of the Chinese investors were buying sort of 10 houses each and not maintaining them and not renting them out and so on. But in terms of the OIO, the big picture, typically, unless it's over 100 million New Zealand dollars or over 5 hectares or sensitive land on the coast or whatever, we encourage foreign investment. If we look around the CBD here in Auckland, the $500 million building across the road is owned by Indonesians. This building is owned by Chinese. That building across the road there is owned by Southeast Asians as well. So there's an enormous amount of foreign capital in our property market. And the government at the moment is talking, there is scuttlebutt that they will allow foreigners to buy property again over the $4 million. That has not come into effect. So right now, Brad's correct. A foreigner is not able to buy residential property here, but if you stay here for half a year and acquire residency, you can. And there is sort of transitional rules around that we can help you with if you need a hand. So the geopolitical thing, Brad, are you expecting? Just like over the years running the immigration team here at Queen City Law, I think you probably, what figure do you think you facilitated coming into the New Zealand economy via business migration?
Well, I've been working for you for over 14 years now, so that's a lot of investor visas. So I'd probably estimate to be around $1 billion worth of investment that's come through processing visas. I have under the investor visa program.
So that's $1,000 million, but in actual fact, we know that for every dollar for migration, there's another $2 spent in the economy, and there's some rock stars in amongst that who brought $1 billion in themselves. And so I would suggest that actually, although there's $1 billion for immigration, if you include the other investments, it's probably closer to $3,000 million. So it's a lot of funds flowing in. Under the existing regime, what can you give us a snapshot of what the investor category looks like now?
Yeah, so basically there's a couple of pathways to get residence in New Zealand, mainly the investor visa, entrepreneur, skilled migrant. But under the investor visa, essentially you're supposed to invest $15 million, but that is diluted depending on where you're going to be investing. So if you're going to invest in direct investment, your $1 is equivalent to $3. So you only need to invest 5 million. So direct investment is actually investing directly in startups and businesses that have been approved by the New Zealand Trade Enterprise. And if you invest in an approved managed fund, again, it has to be approved by NZRV or the New Zealand Trade Enterprise, then the amount that you need to invest is only 7.5 because your $1 is equivalent to 2. But if you're just investing in publicly listed shares, then your money is 1:1. So basically, you still need to invest 7.5 million in public share, and the balance, it's up to you to decide whether you want to put it in managed funds or direct investment.
At the moment, I think you've recently had an English client approved under this category. You've got a Singaporean client that is to end. You've got some USA clients looking for investment here.
Yes. So one's already been approved and looking to do direct investment, and he's actually managed to find a pretty good investment through the New Zealand Trade Enterprise platform.
Yes.
It's looks like an exciting project that's got room for growth for the New Zealand company, and our client's going to be able to complement what they're trying to do as well. So that looks like a really good one for us.
Clients, if they think to go for that 5 million direct investment, are they nervous of taking such an active investment into New Zealand existing going concerns? So do they get worried about that?
100%. Obviously, because they're under the policy, they have to be owning the shares directly under their personal name. So as you know, if you're directly owning shares in a company, there's potential liabilities, obviously, depending on what the shareholder agreement says. You should be able to limit that. But again, at the moment, in terms of the ownership structure, in terms of your investment, it has to be held under your personal name. So,
and then what about like the due diligence and so on about making these decisions on which companies to invest in? How does that work?
Well, the New Zealand Trade Enterprise basically bids or assesses whether it complies with the immigration program or the mandate that they've received. It doesn't actually guarantee that this is going to be a successful business, right? So they definitely has to do their own DD and make sure that they engage lawyers like ourselves, we've got a commercial team that can assist with that DD, or have a proper accountant to assist financials as well.
After the 4-year period, is it 4 years?
4 years, yep.
Does the value of that 5 million investment still need to be there? Do you need to get a share valuation or anything?
So they're not going to penalize you, right?
Okay.
If you make an investment, it doesn't do well.
Right.
And one of the things, obviously, is that there are 3 stop points under this visa program, which is basically you can get your residence visa at a lot earlier stage, meaning you don't have to fully invest the 5 mil. Let's say you're investing in direct investment. You actually only need to invest $100,000 in an approved investment. You get your visa.
And that visa?
Residence visa.
Oh, yeah.
With conditions.
Yeah.
Right. And then the 4.9, you can just put it in a holding investment, which is equivalent to like a deposit, right?
Sure.
And then the conditions on your resident visa will say you have to invest 50% of your nominated investment, which is 5 mil or 2.5 mil, within 18 months.
18 months, so you got plenty of time.
Plenty of time. Then the balance is on the 36th month, and then you need to retain that 100% for the final year.
Okay, so when can you cash out?
So basically after 4 years.
Okay.
And obviously it depends how you're going to cash out. Like, obviously your shares are in the company.
Yeah.
So it's either the existing owners or business or existing shareholder buys you out, or you find the third party.
You go to the market.
But you just go to market, right?
Is the market thin, or is there a lot of...
Well, I think the secondary, because it's a private equity deal, so secondary market, obviously it's not going to be as big.
Yeah.
But depending on how successful the business, right?
So it's one of the underlying philosophies that New Zealand export companies will scale up a further investment and be able to do better in exporting.
Yeah, so they want to help grow business, right? The learning businesses that's
right
here to the policy. But that's also kind of a downside in terms of why it hasn't performed as well as the old investor visa,
right?
Because it's too prescriptive.
So the old investor visa, we were capturing about $10 billion a year, and now $1 billion per annum, right? $1 billion per annum. And now what's rolling into our economy via this category?
Well, it's been operational since its inception. It's probably going to hit 2 years now. I think the recent information that we received is there is committed capital of 500 million. So committed capital is just they promise to invest, but actual money coming in or landed in New Zealand is probably gonna, well, the last report I've seen, which was around 2 months ago, is only around 15 mil. It's actually landed. Quite modest.
Okay, I know also that the government introduced this level 5 IELTS, and that at one stage the Chinese were over 90% of the market before their economy turned it down, and we introduced this English language test. So it's called IELTS speaking, reading, writing, listening level 5.
Yeah.
Has that had a big impact?
Yeah, for sure. Because obviously, so some of our, the regions that we were targeting before, like Japan or China, a lot of the ultra-high net worth, they usually use a translator. They don't need
so there's no discretion around that English language?
Not at the moment. But I understand that the Minister of Immigration is probably reviewing that. So we'll see.
I see the ministers announced a review of this program, supposedly with the Prime Minister's support. They've been in power now for getting close to a year, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of a slow boat to China, but we have understood and had discussions with the minister previously about perhaps going back to having the Investor 1, the Investor 2, and retaining this active Investor Plus category. So it'd be a few different options. Maybe putting the minimum level of investment up to 5 million, and the 10 million having half of that as an infrastructure bond for New Zealand's aging infrastructure. Would you welcome these sort of changes?
Yeah, for sure. Because obviously one of the key things for the government to kind of fix is New Zealand infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
But I think that was in detail.
Yeah.
Who's going to be an approved fund for the infrastructure, who's going to be actually managing that.
Right.
Obviously we've got enough really good operators there.
But why are they so slow to make changes? I mean, I recall before the election they're quite critical, and because they perceive waste of taxpayers' money, not getting enough new business migrants into the country, and priming out pumps. Why are they so slow to actually, get the policy changes made?
I think there's a couple of reasons, really. One, at the early start of the year, there was a big issue regarding the existing work visa program, where a lot of the migrant workers were exploited, or the system was too easily exploited, and they had to make changes regarding that. There was a lot of migrant workers that was seriously affected. Then you had a lot of these companies going down as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that they needed to tweak to ensure that our system's robust. Right. So that became the priority. And then I think with this investor visa program that we have, it's not like under the old policy where it's just Immigration New Zealand. There's multiple stakeholders now. As you know, I was trying to get exemption for one of our investment products.
Yes.
But there had to be 3 ministers to give the green light, which is Conversion New Zealand, NZTE, and Minister of Economics. And with NZT having a pivotal role in this, I think that's probably what's slowing things down, because they've invested too much in it. So they can't suddenly just close and remove NZTE's role. They had to be careful and make sure that all the stakeholders are properly elected.
I'm good about it. I was previously chairman of NZRV and vice chairman, and other bits and pieces, and could be of the New Zealand Law State Immigration Committee. And as part of that process, we're very involved as stakeholders, as a sort of sounding board and a mountain board for the government to discuss, because you mentioned the devil being in the detail, setting the settings for the business migration. And, unlike immigration advisors, we're lawyers, we target the clients for sort of life, and we have knowledge of, property development. We won the number 1 property and instructional law firm in the whole of New Zealand for 5 years in a row, and the top boutique practice in New Zealand also. But so it gives us a real sort of unique position to be able to understand the regulatory framework and what works well for immigrants to attract them, and what works well for the New Zealand existing economy, and how to get a happy kind of marriage between those two things. So, I hope we're involved in the review, which we understand is going to take place in the next couple of months. And let's just talk about maybe the entrepreneur category. My understanding, the long-term business visa from before, the bar was too low. We had enough noodle bars, they lifted it up high. And since then, at one stage they had a 90% decline rate. Is the entrepreneur category something that we should be exploiting more and marketing more?
Yeah, 100%. Basically what's happened is entrepreneur pathway has been dormant for the last 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Because of the transition from having a really low threshold to go through that pathway to having it an extremely high threshold. And so that really didn't meet. And a lot of advisors were burnt because of that whole process.
Right.
And so, as I understand at the moment, there's no applications coming through. And so what's ended up happening is the entrepreneur pathway, there's no one applying.
And then can you kind of tell the viewers what it is and how it works?
So the way it works is basically it's what we call is a work to residence pathway, meaning the government allows you to operate a business, and depending what business and the amount of investment that you put into New Zealand, then you'll be able to apply for your residence after 2 years. So if you invest more than $500,000 and you create 3 jobs, you don't need to wait for 2 years before you can apply for residence. You can actually apply for your residence after 6 months.
So 500,000 Kiwi. So that's like 60 cents on the dollar US.
Probably 300,000, 350.
Yep.
So 500. That's minimum investment.
That's 3 jobs.
Creating 3 jobs.
Creating 3 jobs. So what's the cost of what's the average or the median salary?
Give me an example. You'd probably, depending on how many hours, whether it's 30 hours or 40 hours, but let's just say probably 50,000 per person.
So 150 grand per year for 3 years.
2 years.
2 years.
2 years only.
And at the end of the 2 years, you get your residence visa.
Permanent resident.
Permanent residence.
Because you get your resident visa after 6 months.
So that's a great category.
It is actually. So, and I think that's one of the things that I wanted to touch on, because right now you've got this investor visa program.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to target the ultra high net worth.
Yep.
But there's a massive gap, right?
Yeah,
where there is 5 million, 10 million, or $15 million guys that have got money.
Yeah.
And they genuinely want to move to New Zealand, and they want something to do in New Zealand as well.
What about our baby succession plan?
Correct. Yeah, well,
get
100%. Because obviously there's a lot of really good businesses.
So you can buy a business as well. You don't have to start up. You buy a business, Kiwi business.
Buying existing.
Do you get any credit if you go out into the smaller areas?
You do, because it's a point-based system.
Okay.
Right? Okay. And we've actually got a live application right now. We're about to submit one. It's the first American entrepreneur that was secured. They could have qualified under the Active Investor Plus category, but they like the flexibility.
Nice.
In terms of the entrepreneur pathway, because the business that they choose doesn't have to be within the TE criteria. Right. So it's up to them. And luckily,
they're confident you're getting through.
Yeah, I'm very confident.
And they've got the work ethic. They're ready to go.
Yeah, but it meets all of their criteria, complements their existing business.
As part of the process, are you debriefing them on company law, New Zealand taxation, employment law, I don't know, supply contracts, whatever it may be? Are you giving that sort of advice? Or is that within the scope of your immigration one?
No, of course not. So there's different scope.
Yeah.
Right. So in this case, and then again, this is one of our point of difference, right? If you're dealing with the licensed immigration advisor, their scope is just
get the visa.
Just get the visa.
It's like,
on our part, we're looking at it on a lifelong, and you're looking at a big open. So you're really looking at immigration side of life. We'll do the due diligence on the commercial component, and if there's any employment issue.
So you wanted to be a trusted advisor right through that process, not just for the immigration program, but right through it.
And so with the entrepreneur visa, you have to also work with an accountant.
Okay.
It's because you have to prepare a business plan and a forecast. So this particular case, actually, it's our client is extremely onto it. So we've already received a lot of the information that we need, and then the referred accountant, at least.
Have they found a business?
Yeah, they've signed.
What area?
I guess it's a unique one. It's regarding water purification. Yeah.
Well, that's right in the sort of sweet spot for New Zealand right now.
Yeah. So it's in the purchase price is around 2.1 mil. So that looks extremely promising, and I'm hoping that they'll get a good experience throughout this whole process, because Well, I've contacted the Immigration New Zealand management as well and said, hey, this is the time frame that we got. This is one of the key things when you're doing the entrepreneur route.
Yeah.
As a vendor, you don't want a condition there saying that, hey, this is going to take 3 months or 4 months. Otherwise,
extra. How long will it take?
Well, what I've said is that I'm going to work with the management team to make sure that we do it within the due diligence period, which is around 6 weeks.
Is there's no application to get it approved?
Well, to get to a situation where we're confident that it's
The condition.
to get so it's like
Just backtracking, how long would a really good quality active investor plus take once you've submitted to get the residence visa?
within 3 months.
Faster.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So it's super fast.
This is not an investor category because it's priority.
No, I just wanted to ask. Okay, so that's really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. With the entrepreneur, again, this is a temporary visa, and there's no backlog at the moment because there's no shades. So I believe I'll be the first one to make patience. But I do feel like that area, there's an opportunity there because not all billionaires want to come to New Zealand. There's a lot of people in the States where they genuinely want to move to New Zealand as a place to live, and they might not be worth $100 million, but they have businesses that they have that can relocate to New Zealand. They will use that as a platform for them, or they can buy an existing business because we work with one of the top business agents.
Actually, just one thing you mentioned, I thought was quite cool, like going back to immigration and talking to them and sometimes celebrating some of the success. Recently, we had about, under the old category, there's about 20 families that got approved under the investor category. And I kind of know that that's connected with something our Prime Minister has recently got some kudos out of, with the Japanese investing into Queenstown, $200 million hotel refurbishment and development. And I mean, what a great story that is. 100%. And I note that you gave the immigration bosses a heads up on that.
Yeah, well,
and I could see how proud they were.
I think we're also proud of that situation because that wasn't a straightforward visa process, right?
Sure.
Just because of the way the ownership structure was laid out.
But you look at it downstream, like now you've got chippies on site. There's Kiwis feeding their families, paying their mortgages through this development in one of our most beautiful parts of the country.
And I think that's a prime example of why we should be prioritizing the change in the investor visa program to attract these type of migrants, right? Because it does genuinely create a significant benefit to New Zealand. Especially now when the New Zealand economy is not doing so well. I mean, I think
you see the vulture funds circling around trying to take over assets that are distressed. It's an interesting time in the economic cycle, that's for sure.
Well, at least the inflation is starting to get
under 3.3%. That was right at normal.
Yes,
that's
right.
So
I can afford some coffee and some nappies, man.
Hey, yes. Congratulations to Bradley and his wife Jessie, hoping to have their second child tomorrow. So, big day. Bradley, what are you doing here?
No time for resting, sir. that mortgage rate's too high.
Well, look, on that note, I think it's time for us to conclude. I'd say that we are open for business. We have some of the smartest guys in the country at this practice, and we take real pride in helping people achieve their objectives here. And in New Zealand, with only 6 million people, everything's sort of 2 degrees, so we enjoy an extremely excellent network of fellow professionals, from bankers to quantity surveyors on development projects, whatever it may be. We're happy to kind of let you work those networks, and we'd be pleased to help you with your making your immigration dream to Aotearoa New Zealand a reality. Thank you.
Look forward to working with you.
Thanks a lot.